God's chosen ones must heed this urgent warning: your destiny is at risk. You were set apart for a divine purpose, yet the temptations of the flesh threaten to pull you away from the path God has prepared for you. Lust is not merely a physical act, it is a spiritual drain, a deception that weakens your connection to the divine. Each indulgence distances you further from His guidance, leading you down a road of confusion, emptiness, and ultimately spiritual death. God's plan for you is greater than temporary pleasure. He has called you to a life of wisdom, strength, and spiritual clarity. But if you continue to surrender to temptation, you risk losing everything: your purpose, your divine gifts, and the light that was meant to guide you. This is not a message of condemnation, but of redemption. The time to turn back is now. Your soul is precious, and God is calling you to reclaim the strength that has been slipping away. Do not wait until it is too late. Walk away from lust, restore your connection with God, and step into the life He has prepared for you. Your purpose is too great to be lost in worldly distractions. If you are among God's chosen ones and ready to embrace this urgent warning, type 777 in the comments. Let this be your bold declaration, a commitment to purity, strength against temptation, and full alignment with your divine purpose. When God's chosen ones give in to lust, they unknowingly invite spiritual weakness into their lives. Each moment spent indulging in temptation distances them further from the divine presence that was meant to guide them. What may seem like harmless desire quickly becomes a force that clouds their judgment, dulls their spiritual senses, and obstructs their transformation. The more they surrender to these urges, the harder it becomes to hear God's voice, to discern His will, and to walk in the power they were destined for. God is not blind to this struggle. He sees when His chosen ones allow their flesh to control them, and it grieves Him. He has given them strength, wisdom, and a higher calling, yet many are caught in a cycle that keeps them spiritually stagnant. This is why resisting temptation is not just a matter of morality, it is a matter of survival. When they choose purity, their energy returns, their bodies feel renewed, and their minds become clear. Their connection with God strengthens, and the transformation that was once blocked finally begins. He is calling them to step away from lust, to reclaim their divine authority, and to walk in the fullness of their purpose. God's chosen ones are not called to live according to the fleeting desires of the flesh, but to fulfill a sacred mission far greater than worldly pleasures. Lust is one of the most deceptive distractions, masquerading as a harmless indulgence while quietly stripping away the strength and clarity needed to walk in divine purpose. When a chosen one allows lust to take root, it begins to erode their connection to God, making it difficult to hear His guidance and weakening their ability to discern His will. What once felt like a firm foundation in faith starts to shake, and the path ahead becomes clouded in confusion. The enemy understands the power of lust and uses it as a weapon to derail those who have been called for something greater. It is not just about physical temptation, it is a strategy designed to consume the mind, filling it with distractions that lead away from spiritual growth. A chosen one who is entangled in lust cannot fully step into their divine authority because their energy is being drained by desires that serve no eternal purpose. Every indulgence is a moment lost, a piece of their spiritual essence given away, making it harder to reclaim the strength they once had. Over time, this indulgence in lust becomes more than just an occasional struggleite, turns into a barrier that stands between the chosen one and their destiny. The transformation that God intended for them is delayed. The wisdom they were meant to receive is overshadowed, and the divine light within them begins to fade. What was once a burning passion for righteousness is replaced by an insatiable hunger for temporary gratification. The consequences are not immediate, but they are undeniable. Lust keeps them stagnant, preventing them from growing into the person they were created to be. Yet, God's love remains steadfast. He continues to call His chosen ones back to Him, urging them to see through the deception and break free from the chains of temptation. He does not condemn them for their struggles, but offers them a way out, a path that leads to renewal and transformation. But they must make the choice. If they continue down the path of indulgence, they will lose the very light that was meant to guide them. However, if they choose to resist, to walk away from lust and return to God's presence, they will regain everything that was lost and more. Their spirit will be restored, their mind will be clear, and they will finally step into the divine mission for which they were chosen. When a chosen one decides to walk away from lust, a profound transformation begins to unfold. This shift is not merely about avoiding temptation, it is a complete renewal of the mind, body, and spirit. Lust drains energy, clouds judgment, and weakens the soul, but when it is rejected, the opposite begins to take place. Strength returns, clarity sharpens, and a new sense of purpose begins to emerge. What once seemed impossible, the ability to resist temptation and walk in purity, becomes the foundation of a renewed life, one fully aligned with God's divine plan. This transformation has been witnessed throughout history. The greatest leaders, prophets, and spiritual warriors did not reach their destiny by giving in to indulgence. They rose above their desires and embraced self-discipline. They understood that true power does not come from satisfying the flesh, but from mastering it. By exercising restraint, they unlocked a strength that could not be taken from them, a strength that came directly from God. Their minds became clear, their decisions were guided by wisdom, and they were able to carry out their divine missions without the distractions that ensnared others. For a chosen one, this same transformation is available. The moment they choose to reject lust, they begin to see immediate changes. The fatigue that once plagued them is replaced with energy and vitality. The mental fog that once made it difficult to focus on God's calling lifts, allowing them to see their purpose with new clarity. Even their physical health begins to improve, as the burden of indulgence no longer weighs them down. Their entire being, mind, body, and soul undergoes a renewal that sets them apart from the rest of the world. But this change is not automatic. It requires commitment. The enemy will attempt to lure them back into temptation, whispering lies of comfort and ease. Yet, each time they resist, they grow stronger. What was once a struggle becomes second nature, and soon they find joy in their newfound purity. They realize that what they once craved was not true fulfillment, but a distraction from the destiny God had prepared for them. Now, they walk with purpose, their steps guided by divine wisdom rather than fleeting desire. As they continue on this path, they become beacons of light, examples of what is possible when one fully surrenders to God's will. Their presence carries an undeniable power, not because of their own strength, but because they have aligned themselves with the one who created them. Their transformation is a testimony, proving that when a chosen one chooses purity, they do not lose anything of value. Instead, they gain everything that truly matters. Lust is one of the enemy's most deceptive traps, designed to weaken God's chosen ones and strip them of their divine strength. Every time they fall into temptation, they lose more than just a fleeting moment. They surrender a portion of their spiritual energy, mental clarity, and connection with God. What starts as a simple indulgence quickly becomes a consuming force that drains them, leaving them spiritually weak and vulnerable. The more they feed their desires, the harder it becomes to hear God's voice, to discern His guidance, and to walk in His will with conviction. Uncontrolled desire creates a fog over the mind, making it difficult to focus on higher things. Instead of seeking wisdom, a chosen one caught in this trap finds their thoughts scattered, their emotions unstable, and their heart restless. What once brought peace is replaced with inner turmoil, and what once felt like purpose is now clouded by confusion. The enemy knows that a distracted mind is an ineffective mind-own that cannot fully engage in the mission for which it was chosen. Lust does not just affect the body, it poisons the soul, distancing the chosen one from the very source of their power, God Himself. But God, in His mercy, provides a way to escape. The moment a chosen one chooses to walk away from lust, their spirit begins to heal. The energy that was once wasted on meaningless pleasure is restored. Their thoughts become clearer, their decisions more guided by wisdom, and their emotions more stable. The spiritual fog lifts, and they regain the ability to see with divine clarity. Creativity, purpose, and strength flow back into their lives, allowing them to operate at the level they were always meant to. They begin to move with greater confidence, no longer burdened by the weight of indulgence but empowered by the purity of their renewed spirit. This transformation does not happen overnight, and the enemy will not let go easily. The temptation to return to old habits will persist, but with every act of resistance, the chosen one grows stronger. As they continue to reject lust, they discover a power within them that had been dormant for too long, a power that enables them to walk in divine authority and resist the forces that seek to hold them back. The choice to remain pure is not just about discipline, it is about survival, about reclaiming what was lost and stepping fully into the destiny that God has prepared for them. God does not condemn the natural desires placed within His creation, but He warns against their misuse. When a chosen one allows lust to take control, it no longer remains a simple human urge, it transforms into a powerful force that can consume the soul. What begins as a moment of pleasure quickly turns into a cycle of indulgence that weakens the spirit. Instead of remaining sharp and prepared for their divine mission, they become distracted, drained, and unable to operate at their full potential. Lust is not merely a sin of the body, it is a weapon the enemy uses to corrupt the mind and distort the heart, leading God's chosen ones further from their purpose. A warrior cannot fight with a dull blade, and a chosen one cannot fulfill their calling with a clouded spirit. Just as a sword must remain free of rust to cut with precision, the soul must remain free of corruption to walk in divine authority. The more a chosen one indulges in lust, the more impurities cling to their spirit, preventing them from fully embracing the strength and wisdom that God has given them. Instead of being vessels of His power, they become weakened by the very distractions they were meant to rise above. They may feel moments of temporary satisfaction, but these moments are always followed by emptiness, guilt, and a growing distance from the light of God. The danger of uncontrolled desire is that it blinds the chosen ones to what is truly happening. They may believe they are still on the right path, still close to God, while in reality, they are drifting further away. The enemy is cunning. He does not strike with obvious destruction, but with gradual compromise. Each indulgence seems small, insignificant, but over time, it accumulates, creating a gap between the chosen one and their divine calling. Their ability to hear God's voice becomes weaker, their passion for righteousness fades, and their discernment grows dull. What once felt like a burning fire of purpose is reduced to dying embers, struggling to remain lit in the midst of spiritual decay. However, God's mercy is always present. He does not abandon His chosen ones, even when they have allowed themselves to fall into temptation. He continually calls them back, offering them the chance to be cleansed and restored. But this requires a choicier decision to reject lust, to walk in purity, and to regain the strength that was lost. The process of purification is not always easy, but it is necessary. Only by letting go of indulgence can a chosen one sharpen their soul once again, reclaiming their power, clarity, and ability to fulfill the mission they were created for. The enemy understands the power of God's chosen ones and will do anything to weaken them. Lust is one of the most deceptive tools in this spiritual battle, an invisible chain that binds those who fall into its trap. It is not just about physical indulgence, it is a calculated attack on the mind and soul. Each time a chosen one surrenders to temptation, they lose a portion of their strength. Their spiritual energy, once vibrant and pure, is drained, leaving them fatigued, distracted, and vulnerable. Slowly, their divine connection weakens, making it harder to hear God's voice and follow His direction. The enemy does not strike with immediate destruction, but with subtle manipulation. He whispers lies, convincing chosen ones that their indulgences are harmless, that a moment of weakness will not affect their greater purpose. But in reality, every compromise adds up. What begins as a minor distraction becomes a consuming habit. Instead of walking in authority, they find themselves stumbling, unable to focus on their mission. Their minds become clouded, their prayers feel empty, and their ability to operate in spiritual power diminishes. Lust is not just a temptation, it is a slow erosion of purpose, carefully designed to keep the chosen ones from stepping into their full potential. Many who fall into this trap do not realize what is happening until they feel completely lost. They look around and wonder why they no longer have the passion they once had for their divine calling. They wonder why they feel distant from God, why their prayers feel unheard, why their ability to discern truth seems weaker. They may try to ignore the signs, convincing themselves that they can handle it, that they are still on the right path. But deep down, they feel the shift. They feel the loss of power, the absence of clarity, the growing emptiness inside. Yet, even in the midst of this struggle, there is a way back. The enemy may have used lust to weaken the chosen ones, but he has not won the battle. The moment they recognize the deception, they can begin to reclaim what was lost. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. The moment they understand that lust is not just a physical act, but a spiritual attack, they regain control. They see the pattern for what it truly is, a scheme meant to keep them weak, distracted, and unfulfilled. And once they see the truth, they have the power to break free. Resisting temptation is not easy, but it is necessary. The enemy will not let go easily, will try to pull them back into the cycle, using guilt, shame, and desire as weapons against them. But when a chosen one makes the decision to walk away, they take the first step toward victory. Each time they resist, they become stronger. Each time they reject temptation, they reclaim a part of themselves that was lost. What once seemed impossible now becomes a battle they are equipped to fight. They begin to recognize their strength, their authority, their ability to overcome. With every step away from lust, their minds become clearer, their energy is restored, and their spiritual connection strengthens. They feel God's presence more deeply, hear His voice more clearly, and walk in confidence once again. The distractions that once held them captive no longer have power over them. They are no longer controlled by fleeting desires, but are instead guided by divine wisdom. The enemy loses his grip, and the chosen ones rise, no longer bound by the chains that once held them down. The battle against lust is not just about personal discipline, it is about survival. It is about recognizing the tactics of the enemy and refusing to fall for them. It is about choosing strength over weakness, clarity over confusion, and purpose over distraction. Those who are chosen have a responsibility to fight or resist, to stand firm, and to reclaim their divine calling. The enemy may have tried to steal their power, but they are stronger than he realizes. And with God on their side, victory is not just possible, it is certain. The descent into lust and indulgence does not happen overnight. It is a slow, almost imperceptible erosion of the soul, a gradual shift away from the divine light that was meant to guide God's chosen ones. At first, it seems harmless, a small compromise, a moment of weakness, an indulgence justified by human nature. But over time, these moments accumulate, creating a widening gap between the chosen one and their true purpose. What was once a heart burning with passion for God's calling begins to feel distant, disconnected, and weighed down by distractions that were never meant to have power over them. Each time a chosen one prioritizes lust over their divine mission, they unknowingly trade their strength for momentary pleasure. They exchange spiritual clarity for confusion, divine wisdom for fleeting satisfaction. This is the subtle trap of the enemy, does not demand an immediate fall, but orchestrates a slow fade, making sin appear insignificant until it becomes a stronghold that is difficult to escape. At first, they may not even notice how much they have lost. Their prayers still exist, but they feel weaker. Their desire for righteousness is still present, but it is no longer as urgent. They tell themselves they can always return, that they are still walking in God's plan, but deep inside, they know that something is missing. As lust takes precedence, the connection with God weakens. The ability to hear His voice, once so clear and powerful, becomes faint and difficult to discern. The sense of direction that once gave them confidence is replaced by uncertainty. What used to bring joy and peace now feels burdensome, and the desire for temporary pleasure becomes stronger than the desire to fulfill their divine purpose. The further they stray, the harder it becomes to turn back. It is not because God is distant, He is always near, but because their spiritual senses have become dull, unable to perceive His guidance as they once did. But there is hope. The moment they recognize this deception for what it is, they regain the power to change. Awareness is the first step toward breaking free. The realization that lust is not just a physical temptation but a spiritual attack allows them to fight back with purpose and conviction. The enemy may have used it to weaken them, but he has not won. The chosen ones are not powerless. God has given them the strength to resist, to reclaim their purpose, and to walk once again in the fullness of their calling. But they must make the choice. Stopping is not easy. The world conditions people to believe that indulgence is freedom, that fulfilling every desire is a sign of strength. But true freedom is not found in slavery to the flesh, it is found in mastery over it. The chosen ones who recognize this truth begin to experience a transformation unlike any other. When they reject lust, they reclaim the energy that was once wasted on distractions. Their minds become clearer, their spirits stronger, and their path more defined. They no longer feel lost, uncertain, or disconnected. Instead, they walk with confidence, knowing that they are once again aligned with the divine will of God. This renewal does not happen instantly, but with every step away from temptation, their strength grows. The exhaustion that once weighed on their bodies fades. The shame and guilt that once tormented their thoughts are replaced with peace. The hunger for temporary satisfaction is replaced with a deeper longing for God's presence. The things that once seemed impossible, self-control, purity, and spiritual clarity, become not only possible but natural. What once felt like a burden now becomes a source of power, a testimony of what happens when a chosen one fully surrenders to God's will. The enemy will try to convince them that turning back is impossible, that they have gone too far. He will use guilt to keep them bound, whispering that they are too unworthy to return to God's presence. But these are lies. There is no distance too great for God's grace to cover, no sin too deep for His mercy to redeem. The chosen ones who turn back will find that God was never far away. He was always waiting, always ready to restore them. The moment they take the first step, He meets them with open arms, pouring out His love, renewing their strength, and reigniting the fire of their divine mission. To return to the path of righteousness is not to lose anything of value, but to gain everything that truly matters. The fulfillment that they once sought in lust was an illusion, but the joy they now experience in God is real, lasting, and deeply satisfying. They no longer chase after empty pleasures, for they have found something far greater. They have found clarity, purpose, and a renewed connection with their Creator. They have stepped back into the identity they were always meant to embrace, the identity of a chosen one, set apart for something far greater than the fleeting temptations of the world. When a chosen one decides to reject lust and embrace purity, a profound transformation takes place. This change is not limited to a single aspect of their life, but extends into every part of their existence, physically, mentally, and spiritually. The burden that once weighed them down is lifted, and they experience a freedom that cannot be found in worldly indulgences. What they once believed was a sacrifice turns out to be the greatest gift, for they are no longer controlled by fleeting desires, but are instead guided by divine wisdom. The strength they thought they had lost is restored, and they begin to operate at a level of power and clarity that was previously inaccessible. Physically, this transformation is undeniable. Lust drains energy, leaving the body fatigued, restless, and often struggling to function at full capacity. Those who indulge excessively in desires of the flesh often find themselves feeling sluggish, unfocused, and constantly in search of something to satisfy an emptiness that never seems to go away. But when a chosen one chooses to abstain, the body responds with renewed vigor. Energy that was once wasted is redirected, bringing a sense of vitality that makes them feel younger, stronger, and more capable. Their skin glows, their posture straightens, and they carry themselves with a confidence that radiates from within. The body, no longer weighed down by indulgence, begins to heal and restore itself, aligning with the purity that the soul has embraced. Mentally, the shift is just as powerful. Lust clouds judgment, making it difficult to think clearly or make wise decisions. It keeps the mind preoccupied with temporary satisfaction rather than long-term purpose. Many who struggle with lust find that their focus is constantly divided, making it harder to accomplish meaningful goals or stay committed to their divine calling. But when a chosen one removes lust from their life, their thoughts become sharper, their ability to process information improves, and their capacity for wisdom and discernment increases. They no longer feel trapped in cycles of distraction, but instead gain the mental strength to stay focused on what truly matters. Their creativity flourishes, their problem-solving skills sharpen, and their vision for the future becomes clearer than ever before. Spiritually, the benefits of purity are immeasurable. When a chosen one is consumed by lust, their connection with God is weakened. Prayers feel empty, the voice of God becomes harder to hear, and they struggle to feel His presence as they once did. But the moment they turn away from temptation, their spirit begins to revive. They feel closer to God, able to discern His guidance with greater clarity. Their prayers become more powerful, filled with genuine faith rather than guilt or hesitation. Worship is no longer just an act, but an intimate experience, a deep communion with the Creator. Their spiritual gifts, once dulled by indulgence, begin to awaken, allowing them to operate in the full power of their divine calling. This transformation does not happen overnight, but with each passing day, the chosen one grows stronger. The struggles that once seemed impossible to overcome become easier to resist. What once felt like a heavy burden now feels like a path to true liberation. They begin to realize that lust was never a source of fulfillment, but rather a thief of their destiny. By walking away from it, they are not losing anything valuable, they are gaining everything they were meant to have. The clarity they experience affects every part of their life. Relationships improve because they are no longer seeking validation through temporary pleasure, but instead forming genuine, meaningful connections. Their faith deepens because they are no longer held back by guilt or spiritual stagnation. Their purpose becomes undeniable because their mind is no longer clouded by distractions. Everything they do is elevated because they are operating from a place of divine strength rather than weakness. The world may try to convince them that abstaining from lust is unnatural, that they are missing out on something essential. But the truth is the opposite. What they are missing out on is the endless cycle of dissatisfaction, the constant need for more that never truly satisfies. In rejecting lust, they break free from the lies of the enemy and step into the truth that has always been waiting for them. They discover that true satisfaction does not come from indulging the flesh, but from aligning with God's will. This transformation is not just a personal victory, but a testimony to others. When people see the radiant strength and wisdom that the chosen ones carry, they begin to ask what changed. They notice the confidence, the clarity, and the unshakable peace that comes from walking in purity. And in that moment, the chosen ones have the opportunity to share the truth that the life they are living now is not the result of indulgence, but of obedience. As they continue on this path, the rewards keep multiplying. They become more in tune with their purpose, attracting the right people and opportunities that align with their divine mission. They gain respect not because they seek it, but because their presence commands it. They walk with authority, knowing that they are no longer bound by chains that once held them captive. They inspire others to seek the same transformation, proving that purity is not about restriction, it is about unlocking the full potential of who they were created to be. The enemy may have tried to convince them that giving in to lust would bring fulfillment, but the chosen ones now know the truth. The real fulfillment comes from walking in alignment with God's plan. It comes from discipline, from self-control, from resisting the distractions that seek to derail them. They are stronger now, more focused, more powerful than ever before. They have broken free from what once held them back and have stepped into a new reality filled with purpose, clarity, and divine favor. This is what it means to be truly chosen. It is not about perfection, but about perseverance. It is about choosing obedience over temptation, purpose over pleasure, and spiritual strength over worldly distractions. The chosen ones who embrace this truth will not only experience transformation in their own lives, but will become beacons of light for others, leading them to the same path of freedom and fulfillment. They are no longer just surviving, they are thriving, walking in the full power of their divine calling. Walking in purity allows God's chosen ones to experience love as it was always meant to be, pure, unconditional, and deeply rooted in spiritual connection rather than fleeting physical desires. When lust is removed from the equation, love is no longer clouded by selfish intent or temporary attraction. Instead, relationships become stronger, built on trust, respect, and divine purpose. True love is not found in indulgence, but in discipline, in the willingness to wait for what is real rather than settling for what is immediate. Those who choose purity are not denying themselves joy. They are preparing themselves for a love that is ordained by God, one that will stand the test of time and strengthen their spiritual journey rather than weaken it. However, this path is not without opposition. The world will not understand this decision, and many will mock those who choose righteousness over indulgence. They will say that purity is outdated, that self-restraint is unnecessary, and that fulfilling every desire is the key to happiness. But these voices are blind to the truth. They do not see the strength that comes from self-discipline or the peace that fills the hearts of those who refuse to be controlled by temptation. They do not understand that true power comes not from surrendering to the flesh but from mastering it. Yet in time, those who mock will witness the undeniable transformation of God's chosen ones. They will see the radiance in their eyes, the clarity in their minds, and the unwavering confidence in their steps. They will watch as those who once struggled now walk in authority, no longer weighed down by guilt or regret. And when they see this change, they will begin to question their own choices. The light that shines from the chosen ones will expose the emptiness of the path that the world promotes. Some will continue to reject the truth, but others will be drawn to it, seeking to understand how such transformation is possible. The chosen ones who remain steadfast will discover something even greater than personal strength. They will step into the fullness of their divine mission. By rejecting lust and embracing purity, they unlock a level of spiritual power that few will ever experience. Their minds become sharp, their prayers become more powerful, and their influence grows beyond what they could have imagined. They are no longer simply existing, they are living with divine purpose, carrying out the work that God has placed before them with clarity and determination. This is the reward of obedience. This is the victory of those who choose God's way over the world's temptations. They are no longer slaves to the desires that once controlled them. They are free, strong, and fully prepared to walk in the destiny they were chosen for. And in doing so, they prove that true fulfillment is not found in indulgent sight, is found in unwavering devotion to the will of God.